Hey Stampers, Diane Dimich here, and I am just going to show you a couple of things that I did with this month's tutorial. So I'm going to take a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I actually am going to cut all of my dies. So I'm just laying these out here, all of them, and I actually do this with lots of my dies. And this way I don't have to line them up, and I'm going to show you on the Stamparatus how I cut them out. So you just want to lay your dies out. There we go. And then take one of your plates. Okay, so then I'm just going to lay those out. I'm going to lay my other plate down, run this through the Big Shot. And if I was actually going to be using this for a project, oops, I do it twice, but I'm just going to do it once for now. Move this out of the way. Sorry. And then take all these out. So I've got my yellow leaves. And actually, I would do this part, you could sit, like if you're sitting watching TV one day, just grab one of your stamp sets and start cutting out a bunch of the dies. And then let me show you what I do from there. So once I've got that cut out, I will bring in my Stamparatus. And I'm just going to quickly show you what I do. So I take that piece of cardstock, and I'm going to put that up to the corner. And I'm using photopolymer, so I'm using my foam, and I'm also using I use a craft mat underneath, and that way it just adds a little bit more cushion to make sure that that corner gets good and done. And if you don't, you can always move this. You can always move it so that you're not up in that corner. Move this sheet. Now I'll show you what I did earlier today. I did a whole bunch, so I just cut a bunch out. Once I've got this done, I'm going to lay that in there, and then I'm going to bring in my stamp set. And I'm actually going to lay down my stamps into the die that's been cut. And you'll be able to figure it out. I hope you can see that. Make sure that you're doing it upside down so that you can pick it up with the other part of your Stamparatus. It just takes a little bit of doing till you figure out where it's going to pick up from. And I'll do a third one. You can do this one too, I guess. This one I actually did a couple of the stamps in Mellow Mambo and a couple in Knighted Navy. So I'm going to lay those stamps out there. I'm going to pick them up with my Stamparatus. And then you're going to take the pieces that you cut. And you're going to make sure that you're butted up to the corners still. And then lay your dies inside that grid. There's my big flower. Oh, here it is. And then like that. And then this last piece, we're going to lay that in there. And once you've done that, then you're going to grab your ink. And of course, I probably put everything away. And I'm going to ink these up. And because I've lined them up, they're always going to, as long as I lay my dies in there, they're always going to work. So like I could do this, once you've done it and you have all your dies cut, then you can just kind of stamp without thinking too hard, and you'll get a perfect placement every time. As long as you make sure that this is butted up against there. And then you want to come in, of course, and clean that off. And I'm going to put these on here just so I don't lose them. And do the same thing with the leaves. And so then this time I'm going to go in with my leaves and line them up. Oops, upside down. I don't know why I have a tendency to do that. Make sure it's butted up to the corner. And then Add in all your leaves. Oops, that's a flower. Like I said, once you've got this set up and you've cut out a bunch of dies, you can just go to town. So I'm going to lay my dies in there. Flip this over. Pick them up. Then I'm going to fill in my dies, making sure that we're butted up to that corner. Good gosh. There we go. Grab my Night of Navy this time. Those are the only two inks I used were Melon Mambo and Night of Navy. Make sure we're inked up. Bring it in and stamp it down. And there you have perfect placement with all your leaves. So the other thing that you can do, some of the cards, let me grab a card here. Oh, shoot. I just put something wet on one of my cards. So like on this card here, you can see this is a full stamp of Melon Mambo. And then what I did is I just put the dies in without re-inking and did a second generation. And I come up with that lighter pink color. So put your dies in, ink it up, stamp it. Put new dies in. Don't re-ink it, but just stamp it for a second generation, and that's how I came up with the lighter pink. And I also did a few of the lighter, same thing with the leaves, so you would add another impression or a die cut in the leaves and then do it without cleaning off or re-stamping that ink. So that's how I got that done. I love this technique, and I think you will find using this technique, you don't need to have the Stamparatus, but it sure makes it easy to always get that perfect placement. And you can do a lot of your cutting and stamping without paying attention, I guess. So that's how I did those. And I wanted to show a couple of other things that I did. So on this card and this card, they're basically the same card. All I did is I took the piece of Designer Series paper and I cut it in half. So these were 6 by 6. I cut it 3 by 3, and then I cut it down to 5.5. And then I just added a little 1/2 inch strip of that copper paper right along the edge so you could see it. And then, of course, added my stamping. So that's a pretty simple card. This one and this one are basically the same card, done just different, one's vertical, one's horizontal. I wanted to show you a couple techniques. I want to show you how I did the paper, and I want to show you how I did the ribbon. So on this one, it's actually a piece of Designer Series paper. And you're going to use a piece of paper that is 6 by 5 1/4. So 5 1/4. I'm going to go this way though. By 6, I think. Okay, so 5 1/4 by 6 is the size of your paper. And then you're going to take your scoreboard. I'll just go ahead and use this one. And I actually lined this up at the 4-inch mark. And then I scored it. And then when you fold it down, that's how you get that piece. And then this is just attached to a card, a 4 1/4 by 5. And then this will just go right on top of that. That's how you get your card base. And it's great because it gets you both of those great colors of cardstock. It's a little bit different folds. Now I want to show you how I did the ribbon. So you're going to take some adhesive and the ribbon. I don't know, that one doesn't have any in it. There we go. So I just used snail, and I'm actually just going to go right down the edge of the piece of cardstock, And then you're going to take your ribbon and you're going to start at one end, and that's how you do it. So you just kind of crunkle it and give it a ruffle. Kind of doing it all different ways. It's just like pinching it up and then putting it down. And really, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's it. That's how I did my that piece of ribbon. You just want to make sure that you get that adhesive covered on this side. And that's how you got the ribbon for that card. This piece, it was just a piece of 4 by 5 1/4. And then I trimmed off and flipped it over. So this is actually, you'll see this is the strip I have left. So this is actually the same paper, and I just cut that off and flipped it over. Really super simple. Added the ribbon on there. I actually attached the ribbon so that it meets up in the front behind this label. And then this last one is just a strip that's 2 by 5 with a coordinating strip behind it, and that too is the same. So this is the strip that I used, and then I just flipped it over to put that piece in the back. So super simple. I think that's all my tips for today. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me at diane@ddstamps.com. Thanks, and I hope you're having a great day.